Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a.
This is Dr. Bills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike should be joining us shortly. We're probably getting into the second segment after we take our first break and see what his thoughts are as we get into the poll rankings and things of that nature. But in this first segment, we'll give you some news updates and players of the week. Go through it for the SWAC MEAC football, and we'll show some love for volleyball as well. So welcome to episode 436 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show is covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. We simply call it HBCU sports pedagogy for short. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, coming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that being said, Charles, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc, doing well. We had some great games this past weekend. Looking forward to some more exciting games this upcoming weekend. We're in the thick of it now. Late September going in October. The week will start to separate from the shaft, if you will. So.
Yeah, you sound like myself, as if you all excited in regards to chapter 4 being closed. Finish that chapter. Now it's time to turn the page into chapter 5. So we get into week number 5. With that being said, let's get into some of our players of the week. What do you have?
Let's start with the SWAC. We got Bulldogs, Panthers, and Tigers all representing this week. Southwestern Athletic Conference named Alabama A&M's Quincy Casey and Zarian Hayes, along with Prairie View A&M's Guillermo Rodriguez, and Jackson State's Irv Mulligan as his SWAC football players of the week for their impressive performances this past weekend. Let's take a look at the offensive player of the week. Quincy Casey completed 81% of his passes and threw for 328 yards to go, along with 3 touchdowns in front of a national television audience on Thursday night. His efforts helped lead the Bulldogs to a 31-24 win over UAPB. On the defensive side of the ball, Alabama A&M again, Zarian Hayes. He finished with a team-high 12 tackles and a game-high 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hurry, and a forced fumble. The forced fumble transpired on the last play of the game to help seal a 31-24 win for Alabama A&M over UAPB. The specialist in his season debut, Guillermo Rodriguez, was called upon to convert a field goal attempt from 46 yards out to win the game, and he connected on the game-winning field goal as Prairie View knocked off Alcorn down there on the reservation, 23-20. And the newcomer of the week is Irv Mulligan. He rushed 21 times for 174 yards and 1 touchdown on Saturday as Jackson State's home opener versus Bethune-Cookman. He connected on a 66-yard run in the fourth quarter, which proved to be the difference in Jackson State's 22-16 win over Bethune-Cookman. And Doc, those are your SWAC players of the week.
Big time people getting it done in a lot of ways. Shout out to Prairie View's kicker as he kicked a game-winning field goal for 50 yards. My goodness, you talking about putting a foot in it. On the road, man, that's a statement. That's 2 game-winning field goals.
2 game winners.
Prairie View. You talked about this all year long, saying, hey, Prairie View coach Bubba McDowell talked about finishing. The team was talking about finishing. Boy, you talking about getting it done and finishing in fine fashion. That's a statement, winning 2 tough road games. Boy, I'll tell you, fascinating to say what that looks like. And then later on this week, we'll talk about a key matchup as we get into that classic in Dallas. Should be a good one, and it has a lot of implications in terms of what goes on next. With that said, let's get into the MEAC football players of the week. Give them some love and turn the page and see what do you have for the MEAC football players of the week this week.
Sure thing. Let's take a look at the MEAC players of the week. Is Walker Harris, junior quarterback from North Carolina Central, is your offensive player of the week. He went 17 of 28 for 263 yards, and get this, Doc, five touchdowns in the win over Mississippi Valley State. Huge game for the number 1B quarterback, as Coach Oliver likes to say. On the defensive side of the ball, Elijah Williams, junior defensive lineman from Morgan State, he had 10 tackles, 9 solo, 4 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, forced fumble versus Albany. MEAC has the rookie of the week is Miguel Frijo. He is a freshman linebacker from Norfolk State. He had 4 solo tackles, 3 for minus 18 yards, 2 sacks, and 2 quarterback hurries for Norfolk State in their win over Towson. And the specialist of the week is Adrian Olivo, the place kicker from North Carolina Central, had 9 points, including a career-long 47-yard field goal and 6 PATs in North Carolina Central's huge win over Mississippi Valley State. So those are your MEAC players of the week.
Up to the MEAC representing and get it done. Boy, you talking about clash on the Titans. Every week is a battle to see who's going to ultimately get into Atlanta. We're getting moving forward to see what that looks like. In a lot of ways, MEAC is still in non-conference form, but now you're getting the heart of conference play for the SWAC. We're talking about the SWAC. Let's give some volleyball some love, and I'll give some updates there in terms of the volleyball players of the week, starting with the SWAC. The Southwestern Athletic Conference has named Alabama State's Jolene Witten, Temperance Chapman, Madison Beasley, along with FAMU's Camilla De La Rosa for SWAC Volleyball Weekly Honors for their impressive performances during the past week of conference play. Witten helped the Alabama State to an undefeated start in conference play with wins over FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, taking out the Florida schools. She contributed 16 kills and just 5 errors during a ASU 4-set win over FAMU. Witten followed the performance up with 12 kills against Bethune-Cookman. Defense, Chapman ended the week with 34 total digs for Alabama State. She registered 18 digs against FAMU before contributing 16 against Bethune-Cookman. Chapman has registered 185 digs this season, giving her 639 career digs. Check that out, Charles. Moving her into 9th place all-time at Alabama State. She is having a wonderful career. Setter, Beasley helped lead Alabama State to a sweep of Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman on the road while registering her 1,800th career assist. She recorded a match-high 27 assists to go with 4 digs during ASU's win over FAMU. Beasley followed that up with 27 assists to go along with 4 digs against Bethune-Cookman. That's a statement when you defeat the 2-time SWAC champion to open up the season. Well, FAMU still has something to say. Newcomer De La Rosa finished the Rattlers SWAC opening week with 52 assists and 13 digs as she tallied 29 assists and 9 digs versus Alabama State. De La Rosa added 3 blocks and 23 assists during the FAMU 3-0 win over Alabama A&M. What are your thoughts in terms of the volleyball for the SWAC, Charles?
Yeah, you gotta love it. I tell you what, FAMU getting it done week in, week out. And they put together a really nice volleyball team. And, you know, you hear all those accolades. That's tremendous when you take a look at with those. You mentioned 690 some odd career statistics on that.
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's getting it done. That's getting it
done. Yeah,
done.
You climbing up the ladder. You talking making a statement. Put your name in the history book. That's pretty fascinating. I agree with you. That's getting it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's switch over to the MEAC and give them some love on the volleyball side as well as they named their players of the week. Starting out with Coppin State sophomore outside hitter, the Kenya Stafford was named Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Player of the Week, presented by Coca-Cola. The conference announced Norfolk State's Gabrielle Gilbert was named Rookie of the Week, while Howard University senior Kayla Diaz was named Setter of the Week, and Coppin State redshirt senior libero. I know y'all asked about that last week. Ashley Roman and Maryland Eastern Shore sophomore libero Valera Matias earned co-defensive players of the week in honor. So Stafford averaged 4.33 kills, 2.67 digs, and 0.67 blocks per set as the Eagles opened MEAC play with a pair of wins this past weekend, hitting a combined 287. She opened with 18 kills and a career-high 16 digs and a 4-set win over Delaware State, hitting 333 before turning in a 21-kill, 8-dig, 6-block performance against Maryland Eastern Shore. Gilbert hit a combined 323 and opened up MEAC play this past weekend, averaging 3.7 kills, 2.0 digs, and 1.14 aces per set. She opened up with double against North Carolina Central, going 11 kills, 10 digs, 300 hitting, and 3 aces on Friday. Diaz averaged 11 assists per set in 5 sets of action this past week, including 45 assists to go along with 5 service aces in a non-conference win over American. In 1 set played against South Carolina State, she added 10 assists for the Bison offense that hit 2.276 for the match, I should say. Roman averaged 4.89 digs per set for the Eagles this past weekend, including a weekend high 23 against Delaware State. She wrapped up the first weekend of conference play with 21 digs against Maryland Eastern Shore. And Mateus averaged 4.70 digs per set, 2 matches for the Hawks. She opened with a season high 26 digs against Morgan State before turning in 21 on Sunday against Coppin State. There you go for the MEAC Women's Volleyball Players of the Week. Football and volleyball in action conference play. It'll be interesting to see who gets it done in the regular season and then who finds a way to get it done in the tournament for the women of volleyball. And we know it gets interesting for football. Let's get more into that. We'll come back on the other side after this break, and we will present this week's top 7 in the poll ranking. I want to see what you think on my mid-major list, Charles.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
All right, we'll be right back after this first break.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a 6th sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yep,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life, because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Wills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Shout out to G. Boom Holly. He call everybody lab rats. It make me nervous, like I'm experimenting on y'all. mad time.
Yeah, let me say shout out to my guy Neely up there in Boulder. He's checking us out today. Doing a tremendous job with the content on the pregame show. People need to understand the pregame show was started in HBCU circle. So there's always an homage to Jackson State with the THEE, the pregame show. So people need to understand that. You need to understand understand the origins of the pregame show.
No doubt.
Break it down, CB. Break it down. Break it down.
I like that. Shout out to Neely up there taking pictures of my boy when he comes out for the step shows and stuff like that. He ain't right.
He got Herman on there. He got Herman on there. Herman Shelton's up there in Boulder as well. Shout out.
Man, I was watching the show and flicking through, and Herman, as they start that game, he in the background. I had to give him a call and say, man, make sure you get a haircut. Man, let's get back to it. Let's get into our mid-major poll of the week. Top 7. It's week number 4. Let's see. There was one change without the poll. Not a lot of changes in this poll, man. This mid-major stuff. Folks are rolling. I can't wait till we get some of these clashes. But let's get into the top 7, as we did have one team that dropped out. That was Virginia Union Panthers, but receiving votes. You see Fort Valley State Wildcats 3-1, 3-0 in terms of what they're doing in conference play in the SIAC, 116 points. Johnson C. Smith, Golden Bulls, surprising a lot of people early. They're 3-1, 2-0 in the CIAA, 114 points. Credit to them. Highest ranking I've seen them with since we started the poll. Virginia Union Panthers fall this week, but they're still receiving votes, if you would. 3-1, 1-1 overall, as they had that thriller loss for them that was Fayetteville State in the pouring rain, but they fall out of the poll this week. So let's see who jumps in. In fact, you can see it right here with number 7, West Virginia State Yellow Jackets, 3-1. They are 3-0 in conference play, so they're playing really well, obviously, and getting it done in conference play. 131 points. They were not ranked, but they jumped into number 7. Fell out a couple of weeks ago, but they're back in the business in the top 7. Bringing us to number 6, Miles Golden Bears continue to get it done. 3-1, 2-1, lost that early conference grade, but they bounced back on 36 points. They were previous 7. They move up a spot. They lost that non-conference game that they went on the road, back-to-back SWAC games, 1-1, lost 1. But they're in the mix. Should be interesting to follow this team as it looks like the Miles Golden Bears are back in the football business. At number 5, Bowie State Bulldogs, 3-1, 2-0, 140 total points. They move up a spot from number 6 past week, so they're getting it done and they're rolling. At number 4, Allen Yellow Jackets, 4-0, 2-0 prizes, surprise of the league in the SIAC. Nice matchup this week. We'll see. There's a lot of people want to say, as you know, AD Drew says they're for real. We'll get a chance to see this week. 141 points. They move up a spot, so they're rolling. At number 3, AD Drew's real favorite team, that is Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 4-0, 3-0, previous ranked 4. So they move up a spot, 160 points, 62 points. And so we see these teams that are trending in the upward direction. At number 2, Virginia State Trojans. Remember last week, they took over the 2nd spot. They remain there, 4-0, 2-0 in conference play. 2 first-place votes, 182 points. They're in at number 2. Bringing us to number 1, it no longer is a surprise. Now the question is just how long can they hold on to the number 1 spot? Will they go the markers from the beginning to the end, just running it down? Benedict Tigers, 4-0, 2-0 in the conference race, 7 first-place votes. Oh, man, you talking about the front runners. Can they be caught? I know it's a mile, but in the sprint, they got it done. We'll see if they can get it done in this mile relay. Thus far, they're setting the pace. With that being said, let's go to Mike. Mike, what are your thoughts on the mid-major poll rankings in week number 4, the top 7? You seen it? You heard it? Tell us what you think.
Actually, I have no complaints with your mid-major poll. I think.
Hey, hold up, pause right there. Restate that. Let everybody hear the change. Glory. It's just a couple of days after Sunday. Something has changed. And the clouds are open up. Mike has said no problems with the poll.
Yeah.
I said Marcus D. Kaiser working on his heart.
I said no problems this week with your mid-major poll. Let's clarify that. I have no problems. I'm impressed with Miles and what they did this past week, and that was not only a win, it was an impressive win. So I'm looking across the board. Tuskegee, you got Tuskegee. I think you could argue they could be a little bit higher, but other than that, no arguments whatsoever with your mid-major poll.
I'm interested in it. Before I go to you, Charles, you believe Tuskegee should be above Virginia State?
Yes.
Okay, I see it. Interesting. Charles?
Interesting.
What are your thoughts? And you can comment on that one as well.
Well, you know what? I don't have a problem with it either. Shout out to Allen Yellow Jackets, 4-0. And they could arguably have the best quarterback in HBCU football, not named Jeremy Musa or Davius Richard. David Wright is putting up some astronomical numbers week in, week out. Another huge weekend this past weekend. 28 of 51. He had 370 yards passing, but he gets a stern test with Fort Valley this weekend. So that's going to be a really good one.
If they're able to perform, I don't know if they have to win, but perform. I'm an Allen believer. I'm serious. I'm already drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid. But I that quarterback and that defense they have, I'll become a believer.
Good stuff. I like what you're talking about there. Check out with Mike, G. Boom Holly giving you a hard time, Mike.
Yeah, I got to make
you wear that during the break.
As some players
you had found out now, he rubbing it all in.
At some point during the show, I got to make amends because I was all about living La Vida Gomez, and it's the wrong kicker. But I paid $16 to watch that dang Alcorn State game, and even the announcer said Vila Gomez. I can't see that from where I'm sitting. I'm watching the game from a hotel.
Man, let's come back on the other side and talk about some of these matchups. We're going to talk about mid-major first in terms of those classic matchups, but we got a little twist in that one for you. Then we'll get into independent. We got a little twist in that as well, and then we'll get into the major division poll rankings. So let's take our second break, come back on the other side, bring these guys back, and see what they think about some of these good matchups in terms of the mid-major division. Should be intriguing. Talk with you soon. We'll be right back on the other side. Hold it.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Let's get into our games of the week, our HBCU games of the week, starting with the mid-major. We're going to go, as we always do on Tuesday, with the classic matchup. This week, we did not have two mid-major programs playing in the classic game, so we decided that we're going to go to Huntsville, Alabama for the Louis Cruz Stadium homecoming game, which features a SIAC top 7 program, number 3 to be exact, at the mid-major level. Tuskegee Golden Tigers are coming to town, putting their undefeated record on the schedule as they are at a top 10 program, number 9 to be exact, in terms of Alabama A&M Bulldogs this week, who are 2-2 and 1-1. I'm fascinated about this matchup, 2 p.m. Many people have been putting out there that they could see an upset. I'm not sure if I see that, so I'm curious to see what you all think. And I'm going to start with you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup between the SIAC and the SWAC?
Well, it's definitely going to be a grudge match, and we definitely know this. These SIAC teams, they play the SWAC with this great big old chip on their shoulder. So this will be a very, very interesting contest with Tuskegee. They're going to bring a crowd. It's probably going to be packed up there. But I'm curious. I'm curious if Connell Maynard has unlocked something with Quincy Casey. That was a big breakout game on national TV, threw for over 300 yards last week. I think he's going to test that Tuskegee secondary. Let's see if Tuskegee can answer the challenge. I know defensively they got a young man, Vincent Hill. He was all over the place this past week, 15 tackles in that game. Tuskegee's going to have a huge defensive effort to stop Donovan Eaglin. And now a resurgent Quincy Casey? I got the Bulldogs in this.
Interesting when you think about that. Mike, you know, I won't be able to go to Dallas with you for the State Fair Classic. And so you're going to have to hold it down with all the guys in Dallas on your own. I know you can handle it, but just letting you know, I'll be taking Faith and Deuce. Every 4 or 5 years, we end up going to Huntsville, Alabama for their homecoming because they seem to fall right on the same day as the State Fair Classic. So it drives me crazy, but it is what it is, particularly with this year's matchup in the State Fair. But I'm fascinated to see this one. It should be a good one. Down there, as they say in that part of Huntsville, Alabama. I'm fascinated with this matchup for various different reasons, but I want to see what you have to say. Remember, early on in terms of the season, SIAC has got a couple of wins against the SWAC. We've seen that. One with Central State over Mississippi Valley. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, you saw Miles get it done against Alabama State, but Alabama A&M took care of Lane, and Pine Bluff took care of Miles as well. Bethune-Cookman took care of Savannah State. So SWAC is holding its own, getting it done in many ways against the SIAC. What are your thoughts in this particular matchup with in-state rivals? See each other for a while. Alabama has dominated Tuskegee over the years, but Is this a new Tuskegee team?
Yeah, I think the last time Tuskegee had a win, what was it 08? It's been some years. I think Alabama A&M does own the series, but I feel something about this Tuskegee team, who basically is averaging 32, 33 points per game. So they're scoring. They're also allowing their opponents to just under 20 points. So they look to have a solid, balanced team. They have a good receiver in Antonio Meeks, who can get, and they have another younger freshman receiver. So I look for possibly this Tuskegee team to pull an upset of A&M. I'm with the football guru. I believe that Tuskegee can pull an upset on Alabama A&M. I'm not as impressed, at least up until this last week, with the Alabama A&M offense.
Good stuff with that being said. I'm fascinated what this looks like, but we're going to flip it and go to an independent matchup. This is a little different. We didn't have any of our independent programs getting it done in terms of that, so we're going to save that in terms of the major division. So we pulled another independent program up, major division program, as none of the independent programs that came in with good records in terms of this. We decided to flip it. We're going to go to Durham, North Carolina. Old Kelly Riddick Stadium, Hall of Fame game. Independent matchup, if you would. It's the Coastal Athletic, formerly known as the Colonial, CAA, against the MEAC. Saturday, September 30th. The MEAC right now is 4-4 against the Colonial. Coastal, as they say. So you have Campbell coming in. Campbell's taking their return trip to Durham. 2-2 on the season. 1-2 in the Coastal play as they face number 2 North Carolina Central Eagles, 3-1. Hadn't played the conference game. This is on ESPN. Sticking with you, Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Yeah, I think this is another win for the MEAC. I'm just going to be quite simple. You look at Campbell; they're 1-2. And all that, they do have a good offense. I think they're pushing like 37 points a game. They're averaging 300, 240, 250, 300. But if you look at I'm kind of looking at who they played, and I look at the balance that you have with Central. I think it's a Central win. It's in Durham, so I got to give the edge to the MEAC.
Charles, obviously last weekend, Eagles took care of Mississippi Valley in terms of that matchup, non-conference game, the SWAC MEAC. The star quarterback, Richard, didn't play in that game. In terms of the MEAC Media Day, Coach said it wasn't a problem, so he didn't really give a hint whether he play or not. He said he wanted to give Walker some shine, but it sounds like he probably will play, but he's just doing coach speak. With that being said, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
For North Carolina Central to get this win, they got to control the line of scrimmage. So one thing about Campbell, another huge offensive line. They can run the football. And as high as Malik Williams goes, so goes this Campbell football team. You've got to be able to contain him because he's dynamic when he starts hitting some passes. And we know he can run the football. But they have that defense has got to make some plays on the defensive side of the ball. I think North Carolina Central can take care of things at home, whether it's Davius Richard or even Walker Harris. I think they are that dynamic of football team. A lot of weapons that this North Carolina Central team has as well. I'll take the Eagles in this one. I'll say another MEAC win over CAA.
Fascinating. There's only 9 of them this total year, so they're on their way to have a winning record against the Coastal. Should be interesting to see what that looks like. We'll take our next break, come back on the other side, and we'll get into the major division poll rankings and then those major division matchups. Stick with us. Be right back after this break.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with the hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with the professors. We have Professor Bishop and Professor Washington. Let's get into the major division rankings in terms of the top 7. See what you think is going on here. We had the Alcorn State Braves dropping out. They're 1-3 in the season, as well as the Morgan State Bears. Both of these teams had close matchups, losses, as they couldn't quite get it done. But let's go with these receiving votes. Norfolk State Spartans, 2-2. After that opening season loss to a Division II Virginia State programs at the Division II program level, obviously out of the CIAA, Norfolk State has bounced back and had some big wins. If you think about it, they have another intriguing matchup. Former foe comes into town this year, but they're on the come up as they continue to win and get it done. They're outside of the top 7 though with 167 points. Bringing us to other team, Alabama A&M Bulldogs, also receiving votes. Even their record with the good Thursday night win last week, 2-2. Charles talked a little bit about that matchup in terms of Tuskegee. 1-1 in terms of the conference race, 148 points, but they're still on the outside looking in at top 7. Bringing us to number 10 would be, if you would, Southern Jaguars, 1-2, 1-0. They were open last weekend, 147 points at just outside. Last week, they were number 9, so they dropped back, not playing there, if you would. See what that looks like. Let's get into top 7 and see what everybody thinks. At number 7, Grambling State Tigers, 2-2, 1-0, 180 points. Previously, they were not ranked outside of the top 10, but they jump in after a big win over Texas Southern at home. At number 6, you have Prairie View A&M Panthers, 2-2, 2-0 in terms of what they're getting done, 183 points. They were outside the top 10, but they jumped in the rankings as well, bringing us to number 5. At number 5, you have Jackson State Tigers. They had a tough opening game at home, but with little kicking problems, it was a big win, particularly on the defensive side. Give them credit. They got it done, 3-2, 1-1 on the season in the conference race, 186 points. They stay at number 5. Bringing us to number 4, the Hampton Pirates. They were open that past weekend, so they stay at 2-1, 205 points. And they stay in the 4th spot, along with number 3, Tennessee State Tigers, also 2-1, as they are 1-0 in the OVC Big South. They stay at number 3, however, at 208 points as they continue to move forward and get it done. Bringing us to number 2, North Carolina Central Eagles, 3-1. They actually get back a first-place vote. They do not bump up to number 1 as they have 245 points. As they're just edged out of the number 1 spot by the Florida A&M Rattlers, who are 3-1, 2-0 overall. But as I said, they lost the first place vote, so they fall to 6th. But overall, they have 246 points, so they remain at number 1 with a very narrow margin, as you see.
Oh.
It is fascinating with those two teams as they jockey back and forth. Is that a precursor to the Celebration Bowl? We should see. Still a lot of season left, so it might be early for that, but it is tantalizing. I will say that. With that being said, I'm going to start with you, Charles, since Mike says he has something to say with my major division as he's already getting his dusted feathers. I'm going to make him wait a little bit. Charles, what do you say about the top 7?
I tried to take a look at those receiving votes and see can I push them up, but it looks about right. Let's talk about Grambling State. We've talked about all the teams that can really run the ball in the SWAC West, whether you're talking about Prairie View, whether you're talking about Alcorn, even Southern has a bevy of backs, but Grambling, especially over the past couple of weeks, you get to see their backs. You talk about Chance Williams and Floyd Chalk really put their stamp on this Grambling offense, and Miles Crawley. Over the past 2 weeks, he's thrown for over 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, but even bigger, no interceptions, taking care of the football. That makes this Grambling football team very dangerous, makes for a very intriguing matchup with number 6 Prairie View. I think that's going to be a slobber knocker this weekend. So I think the poll looks about right.
Good stuff, good stuff. Good to hear. Mike, as you hold your face straight now, go ahead and tell us your thoughts on the top 7. You make me nervous.
Huh? Where do you have Hampton at?
I'm Hampton at number 4.
At number 4. And they're above Prairie View, right? They're above Grambling, right? They're above Grambling, right?
That's correct. They did beat Grambling to open up the season.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with that. But what in Hampton's play has made them? Thank you. I got it up here on my screen. Is Hampton truly a top 5 team? Look at the other teams you have. Look at where they're ranked. Look at where their offense ranks in their own conference. No, Hampton is not so I look at how they're ranked in their own conference. Offensively, defensively, they are not a top 5 team. Sorry. That I don't know who. This is politics or something. I don't know who voted for Hampton.
East Coast bias.
I was like, look biased to me. I'm sorry. So.
Wow. I can't believe y'all going to do this to me. With that being said, you got to remember, this is a week-to-week poll. You all have the habit, and many people do this, so I can't blame y'all. Y'all like to project in terms of where it's going. We did that as a preseason. This is week-to-week. How teams play this week? Were they up? Were they were? How fall? Do they fall? Do they stay where they are? Did they not play? Just look at it week-to-week. Teams shift up a little bit, shift down. Sounds like you want to project and look at all this data person, data points, this data point. We're not asking you to project who's going to win the conference. We're not asking you to project who would win if Hampton faced Prairie View or Grambling. And we know what took place there because they played each other. So I know you don't want Grambling any further up. Well,
no, didn't say anything about Grambling. Didn't say anything about that. But I'm saying, look at how when you do look at them, you look at where they stand in their individual conference, who they played against. You try to weigh that against each other in the poll. That should be one factor, one data point in that poll. It doesn't appear to be the case in your major poll.
They haven't played a conference game yet. They play that this weekend. Yeah. They haven't played a conference game. They played these HBCU programs, and they're 2-1. They won 2 out of 1. One of them included a comeback miracle, if you would, that a lot of folks
are miracle. Are you counting the miracle win? Okay.
Yeah, that's what some people say. Jay, I'm just saying.
In my opinion, they were given that win, but I'm not just
like, I don't want to put words in Jay Walker's mouth, but he sure looked like it in terms of what he thought. I know a lot of Howard fans I've seen out there in terms of how they fussed at the coach. That's what they thought. But, hey, it is week number 4. We're just shaping things out. We'll round out. If Hampton can't get it done in the Colonial like last year, to give you an example, and then they're going to fall. They start losing, they will fall. And trust me, you're right. They won't be in the top 5. But right now, they are 2-1, sitting pretty at number 4.
Okay. They got them. They got a decent 3 games. They beat Grambling. They were given a game against Howard. And they did beat Norfolk. I'll go with that.
Norfolk sitting outside. Did you want to bump Norfolk up at 2-2? Now they have that loss to Virginia State, but that is a 4-0 Virginia State team. I will say
yes. That Virginia State's got a much. You look at who they play. They play Virginia State.
All right. Yeah, all the fans up there in Norfolk said they're supposed to win that game. I'm just saying they went on. I was just saying. I'm just saying. With that being said, let's take this break because I think I won that one. Give the points to me. All y'all lab listeners out there, vote. Who do you think won the argument? Was that one for Dr. Cavil or Professor Washington? Just let me know. Type it out in there. tell me, make sure you say Dr. DeVille. We'll be right back after this break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry. Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more. But it's so absorbent, you can use less. So it's always worth it. Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're back, and this time we're gonna get into the Major Division Classic Game of the Week. This year's version, State Fair Classic in Dallas Cotton Bowl, features a top 7 matchup. 2 teams come in with winning records. We haven't seen this in a while. Both teams come in really playing some good football and getting big wins. Both of them are undefeated in conference play. To be specific about that, September 30th, 6 p.m., under the lights, if you would. This game will be on ESPN+. Number 7, Grambling State Tigers, 2-2 on the season, 1-0 in the conference play after a big win last week over Texas Southern. They face up against number 6, Prairie View A&M Panthers, 2-2 on the season, 2-0 in conference play. They also have defeated Texas Southern. Prairie View had to go on the road to get Texas Southern to open up the season, the Labor Day Classic, won it on an overtime field goal, while you saw Grambling at home defeat Texas Southern to get it done. Kind of went back and forth, and then Grambling pulled away late in that game. With that being said, let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of Dallas? My understanding, you'll be in there. As I tried to tell Mike, it'd have been nice if you would have, and your team would have been able to travel to Norman, Mississippi for that Auburn game. Mike maybe would have been in better shape. He wouldn't have got all lathered up about the wrong kicker because that's what they told him. Like living La Vida Loca, as he liked to say. He better live Gomez with that.
I was living La Vida Gomez, and I should have been Go Guillermo.
Shout out to Go Guillermo getting it done, as he well should be respected. But seriously, Charles, you'll be in there, so you put your notes together for this, and we'll be calling the game. I'm excited because I get to listen. Yes, I'll be on the other side of the conference, literally, in Alabama, a lot of ways, Huntsville to be exact, to give you some updates. But I can't wait. We probably trending back to the hotel and getting part of this, listening part of it early, and then I'll get to catch it on TV while I'm still listening to you all call the game. Shout out to Porter in regards to what he's going to get there, Charles Porter, that is. What are your thoughts on this matchup Charles in Dallas. It's a big one.
It's
Whoever
a huge
gets this really gets a chance to kind of start to distance themselves in the conference race, especially if it's Prairie View.
And I know it's almost cliche to say, but whose quarterback is going to show up in this game? You're looking at Trayvon Conley. Nice game this past week. Efficient game, 12 of 19, 187 yards. And Miles Crowley, also an efficient game this past week, 13 of 24 for right at 195 yards. The question becomes, and this is where I was extremely impressed with Prairie View last week. They were able to limit Alcorn's running game to under 100 yards. And that's super impressive when you talk about a running back the caliber of Jarvian Harwood, in terms of what he Jarvian Howard, I should say, in terms of what he gets done week in, week out. They did a tremendous job of stopping him, less than 50 yards on the ground, but they have a bevy of running backs, and they were able to keep their stable of running backs under 100 yards. They get challenged again this week with Floyd Chalk and Chance Williams. Keyshawn Johnson is going to be key in this game, linebacker for PV. He's got to fly around, make plays, because Prairie View's scheme is for those defensive tackles to really do a great job in terms of gap control and let those linebackers, Travion Green, Keyshawn Johnson, flow to the ball and gobble up all the tackles. This is going to be a huge game for Prairie View's defense. I'm sure their secondary will be tested at times. Can they hold up? Can they win the line of scrimmage? But I think PV can get the job done.
Good stuff. Good analysis. Jeff Roberts says, is Grambling for real? Mike, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Can you answer that question for us?
Yeah, I think Grambling, CB talked a lot about, Grambling. I think if you look at it, I do agree it's whose quarterback is going to play the best. Is it Crawley? Is it Trayvon Conley? But more so, who can spread the ball and get the most actors involved? I think that was one data point that made PV successful last week. That you look at it, Alcorn pretty much owned the first half, dominated time of possession, but PV started getting more of their actors. Brian Jenkins, the other receiver, Ahmad Antoine. You started getting Johnson in. You started getting more actors involved in that offense, and it was tough at times for Alcorn State to stop PV. And Alcorn State has a very good defense. So I think if they can impose their will, impose their offense, which offense is going to be able to impose their game versus Grambling? And Grambling in the last couple of games, you look at it, they're averaging 330 yards a game. So they have a solid offense led by Crawley, but not only the quarterback, but which one can get more of their actors, their key skill players, into the flow of the game and quicker on a consistent basis.
Charles, I'm going back to you a little more on this game. You talked about early in the season when we were doing our rounds, particularly at the SWAC Media Day. You talked about Prairie View having a lot of transfers that came in, position players, Brian Jenkins Jr., you gave a nod to Kobe Cavil in terms of what he was able to do, these small scat back receivers that can catch the ball short or take a short pass and turn it into 12, 15, 20. If you're not careful, they can house you. Talk a little bit about that speed that Prairie View plays with on the receivers. Yes, they may be a little shorter in stature, but they can get around. And they have a couple of big guys as well. So when you mix all it in, it's a formidable team. And you gear up to stop the run in a lot of ways with Prairie View because they're loaded in the backfield with Caleb. You got the quarterback, Trayvon Conley, that can run, and Antoine that gets it done. Talk about the uniqueness of what makes Prairie View a formidable foe, probably more than people gave them credit for coming into the season.
Well, I think you kind of touched on it. They have small, fast guys who really work the slots. Brian Jenkins is masterful. And you take a look at him being a graduate student. He's been through the battles before in the SWAC. He's masterful with his one-on-one matchups. That is definitely a matchup that you look forward to with him every game. And then Kobe Cavil, he came in and added a dimension to the offense again this past week. But you touched on it. Because Prairie View runs the ball so very well, you have to commit somebody extra in the box. And they got some guys who can get downfield. The name that comes to mind is Jaquan Bloomfield. He's a guy who can get upfield, get on top of defense. Same thing with Trajan Spiller. So they have a lot of components to kind of deal with, and it kind of comes into which Trayvon Conley shows up. The accurate Trayvon Conley will give you fits because not only can he throw the ball to those scat receivers, but he also can beat you with his legs. So it's kind of a picky poison type offense, and that's what makes Prairie View really fun to watch.
Intriguing the way you break that down. Going back to you, Mike, but I want to focus a little more on the Grambling side and your thoughts in terms of how Prairie View is going to have to go against that. Chuck Hunt said he was at that Texas Southern Grambling game down there in the Holding Grambling. He talks about he sees an improvement from Grambling team, but lacks some discipline in some ways. What do you think some of the trouble that they're having in terms of the defensive side of the ball? They're having some problems stopping the rush. Grambling, Hampton, when we teased and talked about it earlier, in all seriousness, Hampton kind of gashed them in terms of the run. Florida Memorial was able to even run on them a little bit, and Texas Southern did that as well. Obviously, they were able to contain Texas Southern a lot more, but their offense is so explosive, they were able to get it done on that side. But I want you to focus a little more on the defensive side of Grambling. What do you see them being able to get done well? Obviously, the big news in the matchup is Sundiata Anderson. That was the defensive preseason player of the year for the SWAC, is actually out of this contest for the first half, 3 quarters, in regards to the fact that he got ejected in the 4th quarter of that Texas Southern Grambling matchup for a illegal hit on the quarterback in terms of what the refs saw there. In terms of that, what are your thoughts in terms of the defensive side of the ball for Grambling?
Well, let's start with the stats. You look at, where they are. They are 3rd or 4th in the SWAC in defense, allowing, just give or take 200 yards of offense against their defense. They have, in terms of sacks, they're leading I think they have 4, and I think 2 of those, I'm sorry, if I can see it right, is by their linebacking core. So their linebackers are good at hitting the gaps. However, in the last 2 games I saw them, if you look at their line and they tended to lose discipline. And that's a football term most people know, but keeping your lane, not saying discipline with the play. And unfortunately, if you get a mobile quarterback who can run and, and you're not disciplined and don't maintain the outsides or whatever, you can gain against this Grambling offense. I think if you look at that TSU game, if Andrew Body's in there the whole game, a mobile quarterback, or you have a good set of running backs and a mobile quarterback, it's proven that you can gash this Grambling defense. From what I can see, I don't know that their secondary has been tested formally, but I know that Florida Memorial was able to get a significant number of passing yards against Grambling as well. So I don't know how well I rank this Grambling defense. They perform well, but with Anderson out, and arguably one of their better players, how well can they stiffen up, maintain lane discipline, especially with a team with as many weapons as Prairie View? They can hit you from the outside. They can hit you from the inside. They can power up the middle. And if you don't stay disciplined with your defense, I think it's going to be a big challenge for Grambling's defense.
I'm going to stay with you, Mike. We're going to do our last game, independent matchup. We're going into a conference one, but we got our HBCU program, Tennessee State. It has a winning record. Top 4 team, actually number 3 in the poll rankings as of today, but they travel on the road. They had Martin, Tennessee, Hardy M. Graham Stadium, Big South OVC Saturday matchup. This is one of the traditional OVC games that they continue to hold on. Saturday, September the 30th, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Tigers come in at 2-1, 1-0 as they got that thrilling victory last second game-winning 50-yard kick of their own in terms of that matchup, Garner Webb. And now they go on the road at UT Martin. That's 3-1. Hadn't played the conference game yet. But what are your thoughts in terms of what takes place here? Can the Tigers get it done from Tennessee State?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot for the Tigers to get it done against UT Martin, which basically is outscoring everybody in that conference. Now, they haven't – I don't know if – I think you're right. They hadn't gotten into conference play, but UT Martin is a very tough team. I think it'll be a tough-fought game, but because of how balanced UT Martin is across the board, they're leading in a couple of key areas. The other thing is, how good is the quarterback for Tennessee State going to play? Is he going to really step up? Jalen Rouse needs to reach, I don't know. He's averaging 60 yards per game, but is he going to reach 1,000 yards? So we'll see. The Tigers also have a good transfer linebacker that's leading their defensive tackles. So their defense is really going to have to step up against UT Martin, which is leading that lead in passing, scoring, and tops and rushing. So I think it'll be a tough match for Tennessee State. But I think if they play well enough, like we've seen them play, I think they can make it a challenging game. But I think UT Martin might edge them out just with all the weapons that UT Martin has.
Brandon King says Tennessee State is checking in. With that being said, Charles, are you going to help in terms of giving him a little umph, or are you like Mike, you're going to bust his heart? What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup with Tennessee State? Tough one now. They're on the road. UTM Martin have to really play, in a lot of ways, a clean game. But really, I'm intrigued. What are your thoughts in terms of what do they have to do to get this W?
Yeah, we get to see if Tennessee State is for real this weekend. Because when you take a look at this UT Martin team, they are back-to-back to OVC champs. But check this out. They jump into the top 25. They're ranked 22nd nationally. But get this, when you take a look at it, they're third nationally in rushing, Dr. Phil, 278 yards per game. They're fourth in total offense, averaging almost 500 yards per game. They're 12th in scoring offense, 37 points a game. So the key to that, Archie Cooley said it best. I'm sorry, Marino Castle said it best. Best way to deal with one of these type of offenses is to keep them off the field. Jalen Rouse got to be big in this one. And if they can't get that rushing game up and going against UT Martin, because UT Martin, from a defensive standpoint, not that great, but they will outscore you. So Tennessee State has to really control the line of scrimmage in this one, but it's a tall task. It's going to be tough to get it done on the road. So that reason alone, I got to go with the team that can put points up, UT Martin.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good breakdown by the gentleman. They told you what they thought about the top 7 poll rankings, mid-major, major division. Gave you some of the matchups for the classics of the week, as well as the independent programs. We'll be back on the other side, and Thursday we'll get into some conference matchups, SIAC, CIAA, MEAC, as well as SWAC, and we'll tell you what happens this weekend and the thoughts of some key matchups, some good ones coming down in the SWAC and the MEAC in terms of what goes on there, as well as the SIAC and CIAA. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Remember, on Sundays, we get you up before church. Check us out at 9 as we give you what took place in the week of and give you an update on those tough matchups that were on Saturday that Eva has you up and down, some of them on the ledge. Charles will certainly pull them back off of the ledge. Mike will maybe push you off, so just be careful with Mike. He's a tough one. We'll have our cigars. Who gets the cigar of the week? We'll talk about that. And it's about that time we start bringing back up the Big Ben Award and start telling you some helmet stickers, who's going to be in it, and who to watch out in terms of the Big Ben Award. Remember, that is Big Ben back there that we give the award for the HBCU young man that is connected with HBCUs and either was born in the state of Texas, played high school in the state of Texas, or if they're outside of the state of Texas, they come to Texas to play one of the HBCU programs in the state of Texas. We'll give you some updates of what that looks like and some of the heavy hitters who's getting it done. There's a couple of players making some plays across the country at HBCUs from the state of Texas. We'll get that done, or those that are in Texas getting it done as well. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DRKENYATTHCAVIL. That's DRKENYATTHCAVIL. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Horse.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.